Greetings and salutations, Meg Wizard 79 here with another post commentary for my second playthrough of Nier. I gotta say, playing as 9S is, well, kind of wonky, really. Mostly just because of the fact of since he doesn't have a strong attack, and the whole hacking thing is kind of well, frustrating, especially since I'm not very good at it. But yeah. Now this right here actually caught me off guard. So if any of you who have played this game for the first time, you would recall that 9S literally said that this thing was being recorded for posterity. And he wasn't kidding! The game was literally recording you as you were doing this. So, essentially that right there, that's past me. Well, past me, doing all that. It's a nice little attention to detail, and I like it. It's very unexpected. I gotta say, it was really funny. I wish I could tell you what was going through my head when I was doing some of this stuff. I mean, most of it was just to kind of see just how much dialogue he actually had. Like, right here, I was kind of, essentially screwing with him. Like, I already had it maxed out and I could hear his voice and stuff, but I was, waiting to see just how long he would go until he would, start, try and pick up the pace a little bit? You know, repeating. This is getting embarrassing. Man, yeah. Are you there? Can you hear me? Alright, are we good now? Oh, boy. But yeah, the pre-recording of this by the game itself, nice. I like it. I approve. My pulse rate is rising. It seems to be back to normal now. Now, that's okay. So that's a thing that I kind of find weird about the I guess about the androids and machines in this game at all. Like the fact that the machines seem to almost want to imitate us to a degree where it's kind of disturbing. Case in point, that big giant orgy thing that was happening in your first mission. So it's like, yeah, that's a thing. And then conversely, the androids who look and act like us. Who look like us to a T, and, you know, share our body types and all that whatnot, consider it taboo to basically express emotion or basically act in any way that is, you know, reminiscent to a human. It's kind of weird. It's just odd.
9S.
The commander's put me in charge of your maintenance, ma'am. That means I'll be performing regular checks on you from now on.
Oh, boy.
I see.
Oh, don't worry. We 9S models are the best around, you know. Though I suppose we're not exactly known for our modesty.
Yeah. Sorry about this. It's just, for the most part, nothing necessarily really happens too much in this episode. It's still just a continuation of the prologue. It's just, you know, the prologue is it's essentially an hour long, more or less. You know, case in point, this is still kind of part of the opening thing. So it's kind of hard to seriously comment on anything, really. Because it's just essentially a repeat of what happened in your first playthrough. So right here, I'm just deciding on what kind of trait is best for 2B. From what I understand, you don't want to set your partner too aggressive, because if you set them too aggressive, they'll just attack everything. It's bad. So yeah, so here, since I had so much money from my previous playthrough, I just decided to go and just buy any chip that I didn't have. You know, like the experience gauge and all that stuff, the fishing spot, which, I mean, you don't necessarily need it, but since fishing is actually one of the best ways to make money in this game, it's just a nice thing to have. And it doesn't really take up that many slots either. It only takes up like 3, I think. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm just, once again, I'm just kind of like going around, trying to see if anything's changed so far. For the most part, everything's kind of the same, you know, like, there's no optional side quests yet.
You need to be near an access point to save your data.
He says that exact same thing during the first playthrough too. That email you get, I think, is the only thing that really is different, or yeah, that's different. Like now you have access to this arcade. This is essentially where you would go if you want to practice the whole hacking stuff, which, to be honest, I probably should take advantage of, just because I'm really that bad at it. I might consider doing that off camera just to get a little better. That's just a thing you always get. Yeah, it's just a basic old, just telling you, it's like, oh, we're just testing the mail system, you know, stuff like that. So, yeah. Now we're just heading off to go talk to the commander. Yeah. Now here's something that I didn't necessarily realize until I was like kind of playing this off camera on a different save file. So the two operators for 2B and 9S respectively, they're here. Like 2B's operator is on this side and 9S's is on the other. 9S's is that one right there at the far end, on the, well, it would be on his right. While 2B's is the same side, but it's not towards the end. It's actually like right there, actually, like right across from 9S. Like I think that's her right there. Again, on the right side. Oh yeah. So again, this is also another thing I didn't figure out. So you know how there's a pod that you can find in the desert? Well, if you if you just come here and talk to her, you'll overhear her talking about this to this other Yorha unit, who basically reports that she lost her pod, and she's basically she's telling her like, okay, fine. Every pod is equipped with like essentially a homing beacon. Just try and find the beacon, and then as she's hanging up, and next time, don't lose it! But yeah, so she, yeah, that's 6-0 right there. But yeah, but you know, she also, she's going like, oh, sorry, I had to overhear that. It's like, you know, apparently like one of my the person I'm paired up with lost their pod. If, you know, if you find it, try and give it a good home, stuff like that. So yeah, that's 210. I kind of like her. Granted, of course, I like 602, just because of the fact of how bubbly she is. But 210 is my ideal one, just because she's a no-nonsense approach one. But she does have a heart. So, yeah. Yeah, it's really kind of interesting. I never really took, like, after I finish talking to the commander, I just take a little while to just really appreciate just this room in general. This is mostly the reason why usually when I'm talking to characters, I kind of just play around the camera, so that at least we can get different like, I guess you could say it's kind of like the cinematographer in me. I just like turning the angles around so that it's not just, you know, you looking at one specific angle for so freaking long as they're talking and stuff, because it's boring. So it's, you know, I kind of take, I kind of like switching the angles up so that at the very least, you know, if it's a long conversation, you guys get to appreciate a different part of the room at the time, which is kind of how people normally act anyway, you know, like even if they're having a very long conversation and they are supposedly, you know, basically facing face to face, your eyes still wander because, well, let's face it, the human eye is attracted to movement, and it's just like you can pay attention just by hearing. You don't necessarily have to just keep looking at a person. So I just okay, so that's just essentially why I just like moving the camera around pretty much. That's a chest that I didn't even know was there the first time. That's another thing that I found while I was playing my other save file.
The surface? That means we'll be getting flight units, huh? Better head for the hangar. Usually we can't get near flight units. They're way too expensive for us grunts. Too bad they can't mass produce these things yet.
That's a weird thing, really. Them talking about expenses and stuff, and yeah, now to be stuck there for what? Yeah, she was stuck there for whatever reason. Great pathing there. But yeah, that is one thing that I always just find weird. That like they yeah, I was just like cause when I noticed, it's like, oh yeah, that's right, 60 has a room, so does that mean 210 has one? So I was just going around and trying to see if I could find her room, and yeah, now to be stuck in that elevator, I go back and try to get her to move, but she doesn't move, she just stays there. So I just keep forcing it until she teleports to me. Like that. But yeah, but I do find it interesting when they talk about, like, essentially costs, where, I mean, I know there's a type of money system here, but at the same time, it's like, who are we paying to get these parts? Don't we usually just kill machines to just get the parts we need? So, how is it these things are expensive to mass produce? It's odd, really. So, if you didn't get that achievement, that you end up dying in the prologue, this is your last chance to do it. So if you die here, then you'll get that you get that trophy that you get ending W. Yeah, you get ending W, which is dying during the prologue and stuff. So yeah, so this would be your last chance to do it, because otherwise, then you're just yeah, you just have to wait to another playthrough to do it again. There I go, taking unnecessary damage, but seriously, those chips, I'm not kidding. They literally make you feel invincible just because of the fact it's like, you're always being swarmed by enemies, so just having to kill one to regain your health is just, it's a no-brainer to me, really. Yeah, I always do wonder, just, how is it these machines, like, how do they know where, like, do they, like, are these guys literally, like, always patrolling, like, they have sentries all over the place? Because, to me, it just always feels like they're just popping out of existence and, just coming in to just basically fight you, and, oh boy, like, I was actually kind of, I'm like, oh, crud, I'm going to die. Because, see, like, what I was trying to do is, like, I kept trying to hack them, and I didn't think that I was able to do it, because, again, despite the fact that I'm not necessarily good at the hacking. Oh, and by the way, that is ridiculous. Like, that is just nonsense, all those homing things, and, yeah, if I recall, yep, my timer runs out, I don't get to kill, I don't get to do it, and boom. There I go, and I take unnecessary damage. But yeah, for the most part, usually, if you see me just standing there like a jackass with like my thumb up my ass, it's because I'm trying to basically do that. But as you can see, it's like it's kind of hard. You almost essentially have to be right in their face to be able to do it. And oh good, yep, is just it's kind of silly, and at this point I just kind of give up, and I'm more like, you know what, screw it. It's like, and then the jerk just flies away altogether too. It's like, oh.
I've set a landing point for your flight units. You'll be touching down quite a ways from the resistance camp, unfortunately. Sorry for the trouble, but we can't risk the enemy discovering their position.
So
understood. Good luck down there.
So this is one of the things that I kind of find odd, where 210 and 60 constantly keep flip-flopping over who's communicating to them. You know, considering that you're playing as 9S, I figured it would have made sense to just have 210 only being the one that's contacting you, which she mostly does too. That's the interesting part. You know, she's mostly the one that's basically contacting because, you know, she's 9S's operator, so every time 9S is making a call, 210 is the one who's responding. So I find it interesting that that basically 60 is also responding, but she's not responding to 2B. She's on 9S's communicator, so I don't get it, really.
Target location acquired. Marking on map. Proposal. Proceed
So,
to target location.
when I first played this game, when I played as 2B, I didn't go through the building. I just jumped off, and then 9S was going like, "Hey, wait, 2B!" And, you know, he had some dialogue for that. So I wanted to see basically if I did that, like, you know, if they would do something else again. But no, it looks like that's only for 2B. I probably should have gone through the building and see if 9S has anything to say doing that, but whatever. Can't win them all.
According to our intel, none of the machines in this area are hostile. We've been seeing more and more enemies like this lately.
What do you call it?
Stare into space.
I don't recall if I said this before, but if you when the weapons appear and stuff, you'll notice that I think I'm pretty sure I did mention this before, that basically 2B, she uses the whatever weapons you used against the final boss, that's the weapon she's going to have equipped to her. Now, I don't necessarily know if because what's, I guess, kind of confusing about this is that 9S, he still has access to those weapons even if they're equipped on 2B. So it just makes you wonder if I don't know if me upgrading those weapons will basically have any effect on 2B specifically. So, that's something I'll probably have to look up later. But I do wonder, basically, if you decide to upgrade the weapons that are equipped to her, if it'll actually increase her weapon her damage output. And as you saw, once again, another failure at hacking. It's like, hacking's hard. Especially when they just give you that one room, those rooms where it just has multiple people just shooting at you. It's like, what the hell? It's kind of frustrating. So I'm just going around looking for that, because those chests can only be opened by 9S because they require you to hack them. Fortunately, these are easy hacks. All you have to do is just shoot that thing. Of course, despite it being easy, doesn't mean I don't come close to dying. Now, what do you call it? So, you'll see in a minute that, so as you may recall, like when you first start off, you basically end up doing two side quests, one for the merchant, one for the weaponsmith. Apparently you have to, those are two quests that even if you obviously you have to do them to basically gain access to basically their better inventories and stuff. I mean, with the weaponsmith, you literally have to do his quests, otherwise you can't upgrade your weapons at all, or buy the ones that he has in stock. But those two quests, from what I can tell, those are always mandatory. You always have to do them regardless of the playthrough. They're just pre-programmed in, so you can't you can't avoid not doing them. Of course, they don't make, at least as far as the merchant goes, and I'm pretty sure the same thing with the weaponsmith. You don't have to necessarily do the mission again, Because if you have the stuff you need right on you, you can just give it to them, and then bing, bang, boom, done. You know, you don't have to go to the areas that you're supposed to get the required materials. For me though, I will have to go and basically get the stuff for the weaponsmith because I don't have any of the stuff that he needs. I have a ton of the stuff that the other guy needs, but the weaponsmith, I have to go to the area to get the complex gears. I think that's what they're called. Yeah. Right now, I'm just kind of deciding what weapon I want to carry around and stuff. Like just because since I can only have one weapon equipped at any time, it just makes sense to me to just basically only pick one weapon. I mean, just. Oh, that was great. That was such a great sentence. I love it. Anyway.
You're number 2.
You know about 2B?
So for the most part, as far as quests and stuff go, or sorry, not quests, dialogue, I just mostly skip through it as quickly as I can. Just because of the fact it's like, I already, like we've already heard all this before and seen it in my first playthrough, so it just really doesn't make any sense to just go at a slow enough pace that you guys can read / and or hear it in a competent manner. It just doesn't really make much sense, right? I mean, granted, of course, I feel that's probably self-explanatory, but what are you gonna feel like I should explain it. Anyway, so if you go back here, there's actually one of those chests that only 9S can open. Oh boy, I swear, these chests, they were just they were kind of frustrating just because there were so many of them everywhere and I had no idea how to open them. So most of them will probably have like some half decent stuff like new weapons or like, certain quest items, so to speak. But, they won't all be gems, but since, it requires a whole playthrough to basically gain access to opening them, they'll be at least uncommon and above items, at the very least. Yeah. At least that's something to look forward to. I hope I can get them all. But, if I don't, there's always the third playthrough to go through. And then, if I fail there, there's always the fourth. Yeah. Anyway. But, I really wish I had more to say, to be honest, but, this is like the beginning of the game, so there's nothing... There's nothing really that stands out, so to speak. It's all pretty, nuanced, I guess.
We also help ourselves.
Yeah.
I don't think they're a pain.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah. Oh boy. This is kind of something that I was sort of afraid of. Just because of the fact that, like, to be honest, I feel that post commentaries should really be, well, actually, in all honesty, I think commentary in general should really be done with 2 people. Because then at that point, you're, like, everything's all on the one person to try and keep things entertaining and all that stuff, and, like, oh boy. That is such a tall order. Especially from someone like me, who, well, at the end of the day, I'm really... I've kind of been accused of being almost robotic. And just kind of reactive instead of proactive. So yeah, as a result, everything I kind of do and say just comes out as really stiff and stilted.
This must have been quite a city once upon a time. Too bad vegetation's claimed most of it now.
It's kind of weird, really.
Operator
Man,
210,
I will say that one.
this is your regular scheduled
I find it weird that basically some people never get that one. At least from the playthroughs I've seen, some people don't get this chip right here. The one that's you see how all the items are just flying towards me. That's a chip. It's an auto looting chip that you actually get way later in the game from 2 of the Android vendors. The ones with the Devila and I forget the other one's name. But those 2 chicks, they sell that chip, and it's like not even all that expensive to equip. I think it's maybe 3 or 5 slots. So yeah, it's not terrible. And it's such a godsend, because all you have to do is just any item that's on the floor. Boom, there. See? You just get it. Like, it's just so... it's so nice. You know, you don't have to go over there and manually push the interface button to get your character to go into the animation, to grab it. It's like, it's such a time saver, really. I kind of wish most games would just have an auto loot feature, just in general. It's so much more user friendly instead of having us to physically pick up the item. I mean, yeah, they're, you know, there I go, failing at these things again. Seriously, these things are hard, but as you can see, the purple ones, you can't shoot through them. Well, I mean, you can shoot through them, but they won't dissipate like the orange ones do. So yeah, so it makes it much more complicated. I assume it probably I assume in universe it probably has to do with the fact that basically the purple ones, whatever comprises that, whatever energy they're comprised of is much more dense than the orange, or like, you know, the more pink ones that you see the enemies fighting, because those are less more dense. Like you know, like your, like, I guess for lack of a better term, your laser shots can basically disrupt the energy that basically comprises them and thus dissipates them harmlessly. The other ones are far too dense and opaque for basically the energy to really penetrate it. So as a result, it just bounces off. Kind of like how basically when it comes to light, black will just completely and totally absorb everything, because, you know, in the light spectrum, black is the what do you call it? Like, oh wait, no, sorry, that's reverse. White is the amalgamation of all the colors, while black is basically the lack of any color. That's how the light spectrum works. Sorry, I was thinking about art. In art, basically, black you get from combining every color in the rainbow into one singular thing. While basically white is absence of every color. It's kind of funny how that works. How in the light spectrum and in the paint, you know, when you're dealing with art and the light spectrum, they're just flip-flopped. So basically, black is the opposite of black when you're painting. It's kind of fascinating, really. But basically, like, that's my theory anyway, that the fact that basically because the thing is so opaque and it's you know, like, just so much more dense, it makes it difficult for your little laser to basically permeate it and disrupt the energy flow that basically constitutes it into that spherical shape. I mean, until I'm proven otherwise, it's as good a thing as any to fall under. But yeah. So yeah, now I'm just giving him the complex gears he needs. Well, actually, he gets the gears, and then 9S has to essentially fix it for him. But yeah. So from what I understand, this guy, he basically what is it? Like, the person he receives his goods from, because essentially he works for someone. Like, it's damn it, I forgot what her name was. But yeah, but she's apparently a reoccurring character from the Nier franchise, just like Emil and Devila and her sister. they were all part of the original Nier. And basically, this woman in general, apparently she's some kind of interdimensional traveler. That's why she's able to basically gain access to basically these weapons that, for all intents and purposes, shouldn't really exist in this timeline. Like the Lion's Sword and all that stuff, and the Beast King Blade, stuff like that. Like those things, they're so ancient they shouldn't exist right now. They would have probably withered to dust at this point. Because this is actually from what canonically, this is actually the future of Nier, more or less. With a few tweaks here and there, just because all these existing characters from the previous game basically carry over into this one. Obviously, they're much more into the side character role than they ever were, but yeah. Apparently, this woman, she's some kind of interdimensional time traveling entity that can just essentially do what she wants, more or less. I don't really, I don't really know that much about her. I probably should play the other games to basically get a much more in-depth and comprehensive understanding of her personality and overall, what's the word? Damn it, there's a specific word for this. Sociological tendencies? I want to say? I think that's the right word. One sec. Since I'm actually not playing, I actually have the luxury of just looking it up right now. Let's see. Bloody fridge. I pushed the wrong button again. Alright. There we go. Alright, sociological tendency. Last and all. Sorry, this thing is so finicky. Okay. There we go. Alright, so, really, okay, so, relating to or characteristics of its methods, dealing with social questions or problems, especially focusing on culture and environment. Okay, so yeah. Yeah, that's pretty close. Alright, so I'm not misusing the word at the very least. It fits the context of what I'm trying to say. But yes, essentially, I really don't know that much about her. I probably should just, looking at it now, I probably should have just opened up the wiki page and just looked her up. That would have probably much been better than trying to look up the definition of sociological tendency and make sure that I'm using the phrase correctly, because that's two words, not one word. Oh boy. At this point I'm just heading towards the desert to basically get the main mission started. These things. I hate these things. I hate them so much. They're virtually impossible to kill by conventional means. The only way to effectively beat them in a timely manner is by just hacking them. And well, we all know how good I'm at that. That was a horrible sentence. But yeah. So there's really not much else to say for the most part. Yeah, I just basically come over here, I do a quick save, and then, yeah, that's pretty much it. So, yeah, I guess, yeah, that's pretty much it. So stay tuned for the next one, and hopefully I'll have better things to talk about. I hope so. Because otherwise, this is just going to be a lot of pointless rambling. And I don't really see much entertainment in that. But anyway, until next time, though, this is Mega Wizard 79 bidding you all adieu.